Hey everyone. If you're gearing up for that PCI Level I or II exam, you have definitely come to the right place. In this explainer, we're going to break down the absolute essentials of safety and production facility requirements, pulling everything straight from TM-101.
All right, so here's what we're going to tackle. We're breaking it down into three main parts. First, we'll lay the groundwork with safety. You know, the #1 priority in any plant. Then, we'll walk through the essentials of the production facility itself. And to wrap it up, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of specialized areas and equipment. Sound good? Let's jump in. All right, first things first, let's talk about the absolute foundation of any precast operation, and that is, of course, safety. Look, this isn't just some nice-to-have guideline. It is the highest priority, period.
And this quote from the manual, this is the bedrock. It's the guiding principle for everything else we're going to talk about. I mean, think about it. We're dealing with massive concrete elements, high-tension steel strands. Dangerous doesn't even begin to cover it. So it makes sense that every single procedure has to be built with safety at its core.
So how do you take this big idea of safety first and actually make it happen on the plant floor? Well, it boils down to these key objectives. #1, obviously, is preventing injury to absolutely everyone. You do that by making sure every single worker gets really thorough safety training. And you can't just rely on memory, right? That's why you need a written safety program, and it has to be posted where everyone can see it. Of course, this all has to line up with OSHA and state laws. That's the bare minimum. And finally, this isn't something you just set and forget. You've got to have regular safety meetings and inspections to keep everyone sharp and to catch problems before they turn into accidents.
Okay, so who's on the hook for all this? The manual leaves no room for doubt. It falls squarely on the shoulders of plant management and supervisors. They are the ones on the front line. Their job isn't just about hitting production numbers. It's about being the safety champions. That means enforcing the rules, making sure everyone has the right PPE, and, this is huge, stopping and correcting any unsafe practice the second they see it.
Okay, we've covered the who and the why of safety. Now let's shift gears and talk about the where, the production facility itself. It's so much more than just a big building. You have to think of it as a controlled environment where both quality and safety really hinge on good organization and constant upkeep. Now this phrase right here, safe, orderly, and weather protected, you're going to want to tattoo this on your brain for the exam. Seriously, let's unpack it. Safe, well, that connects back to everything we just talked about, right? Orderly is all about good housekeeping, keeping pathways clear, having a place for every tool. That's what stops those simple trips and falls. And weather protected? Man, this one's critical. You can't have rain or freezing temps messing with your concrete mix or your curing process. All three of these things have to work together to get that consistent, high-quality product every time.
So, if we were to walk through a plant, what does safe and orderly actually look like in practice? Well, it starts with just good housekeeping. That's the baseline. Then you look up. Is the lighting adequate? You can't do precise work or spot hazards in the dark. We talked about weather protection, and notice here, it covers not just production but storage areas too. You don't want your finished product getting ruined. Materials need their own designated stable spots. And of course, with all the equipment and materials around, you absolutely have to have proper fire protection systems in place.
Okay, let's zoom in a little bit now. We're going to focus on some of the more specialized areas and the equipment you'll find in the plant. These zones have their own unique set of rules, all designed to make sure the final product is perfect.
Curing. This is where the magic happens. It's where the concrete really gets its strength. But man, is it a sensitive process. You can think of it in 4 steps. First, you need an enclosure, something to trap all that precious heat and moisture. Second, inside that little bubble, you have to control the temperature and keep it above that critical minimum we'll talk about. Third, once the concrete is finished, you cover it up to keep the moisture from escaping. And finally, and this is key, it has to be uniform. The whole piece has to cure at the same rate, otherwise you're asking for cracks and internal stress.
All right, get your pen out. If you memorize one number from this whole explainer, make it this one, 50 degrees Fahrenheit, or 10 Celsius. Why is this number so important? Because if the concrete's temperature drops below that, hydration, the chemical reaction that makes concrete strong, basically just grinds to a halt. It slows to a crawl. And that's a disaster for your product quality and your production schedule.
So let's talk about equipment for a second. The manual gets specific, and you can really see 2 different themes here. When you look at product handling equipment, it's all about being smooth and gentle. You want to minimize shock, right? The load capacity has to be clearly marked. You're distributing the load evenly. But then you look at concrete placing equipment, and the focus shifts. There, it's all about preserving the mix. You have to deliver it without segregation, clean it after every use, and keep that consistency uniform. 2 different jobs, 2 different sets of rules.
And last but not least, let's talk about storage. I mean, you can do everything right up to this point, but if you mess up the storage, you can ruin a perfect product. So here's a quick inspection checklist for a good storage area. It needs to be big enough for everything, obviously. The ground has to be stable no matter the weather, and it absolutely must be well drained. No standing water. And this last one is super important. You need good, solid dunnage. Wood blocks, supports, anything to keep the product off the ground and prevent staining or damage.
So as we wrap this up, let's just step back and ask, what's the big picture here? Why all these rules for safety and facility maintenance? Well, it's all about creating a system where high quality isn't an accident. It's the natural result of working in a safe, clean, and organized environment. When everything is in its place and everyone is safe, you can't help but make a great product. And that, right there, is the big idea you need to take with you for your certification.